What's up guys, my name is Spartan, and in today's video I'll be going over my highly requested farming strategy, which I call Devoed Blender. So in this video I'm going to be giving you guys everything that you will need to get started. We're going to be talking about ideal cards and modules, the workshop setup, the current enhancements and perks that I use, and also the target priority. Literally everything that you'll need to know how to use this strategy effectively and efficiently. And if you need to skip to specific sections of this video, feel free to check out the timestamps down in the description below, where they should also be displayed on the screen. One thing really quickly before we get started, I just wanted to bring this up because it's a really cool thing that Tech Tree Games has done for me in my content creation journey. They are now sponsoring me. So if you go to the web store and you purchase things for the tower, whether it's gem packs, stone packs, even like the event boosts, there's a section at the bottom of the online store that says support a creator. Enter a creator code to support your favorite content creator. Now, I actually was given a code, and my code is 300. You'll hit save there, and it says, booyah, you are now supporting Spartan. And with that, everything in the store still costs the same amount. All it does is gives me a little bit of a cut off the top, and I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would consider supporting me on the Tech Tree Games store, if you guys don't mind. Huge shout out to Tech Tree Games for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for anybody who has supported me in getting this far. And now that that's out of the way, let's head back to the tower. Alright, so many of you may know that I've used multiple different strategies in this game up to this point to farm with. I've done things like Blender, Standard Orb Devo with wall, without wall. I've also done Orbless Devo, and I've even done like Glass Cannon. So I feel like because I've used so many different strategies, I really have struggled over the time I've been playing this game over the past year with basically just figuring out what strategy works best for me. Every strategy brings something different to the table, and when I was doing Orb Devo, I really enjoyed it for the just sheer amount of coins that you get, but I also really enjoyed the AFK friendliness of Blender. And like I mentioned, this strategy that I am using currently, I have called Devoed Blender. The strategy basically just combines the pros of both strategies while also mitigating the cons at the same time. The biggest pros of Blender is obviously how AFK friendly it is. It requires virtually no overall major maintenance. And generally speaking, Blender farming runs will also tend to last longer than Orb Devo runs because you're utilizing free upgrades to get your key workshop stats maxed out sooner in the run. The biggest drawback to Blender generally is just that you'll see fewer coins overall than you would if you're running Orb Devo. So this is exactly why I wanted to sort of combine both of these strategies into one massive strategy. And with that, Devoed Blender was born. So first things first, let's just go ahead and knock out the base requirements. What are the base requirements for the Devoed Blender build? First and foremost, you're going to need most likely a minimum of 5 quadrillion lifetime earned coins. The second requirement is that you actually need Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Death Wave synced. That generally will be advisable for multiple different strategies in the game, just so that you can get all of your coins, all of your coin multipliers basically stacked up at the same time. Bonus points if you have a synced golden bot. I do not at the moment, but working on it. And yeah, there's a couple ways to get the Golden Tower, Black Hole, Death Wave sync. If you have Multiverse Nexus, absolutely awesome. You can use that. If you don't, you will have to resort to a natural sync, which just simply involves lowering the cooldowns of each of these, so Golden Tower, Death Wave, and Black Hole, until they are all the same level. One thing that you can do, if you want, you can do a 2-to-1 sync with Black Hole, so basically you would max out the Black Hole cooldown at 50 seconds, and then get Golden Tower and Death Wave cooldown down to 100 seconds. So however you want to do it, the main thing is here, you just need synced ultimate weapons so that you can get those sweet, sweet coin gains. Next requirement is that you are going to need the free upgrade card, Mastery. At a bare minimum, you'll need the Mastery unlocked with just one locked workshop stat available. But ideally, you would have at least one lab level completed so that you can lock a couple things in the workshop, which we will cover shortly. And for those of you that don't currently have this milestone, you get it in Tier 16, Wave 100. And piggybacking off of that, the last requirement is going to be a Devoed workshop. So we're going to go over exactly what is in the workshop here in a second. But first, let's just cover a couple things that are ideal to have. First and foremost, in the labs, you're really going to want to have all of your Econ Ultimate Weapon labs ideally maxed. If they're not maxed, try to get them there as quickly as possible. It's definitely not a base requirement to have them maxed, but it will significantly increase the overall coins that you see with this strategy. And really, the last ideal thing to have is simply just a low overall sync cooldown. If you have a Multiverse Nexus, just trying to get this as low as possible, the overall average. If you have a natural sync, like I mentioned, a good baseline to sort of go for would be the 50-second Black Hole, followed by the 100-second Golden Tower and Death Wave. And now that we've covered the base requirements and the things that are really ideal to have, let's go ahead and dive into the workshop. So first things first, you may notice I have nothing really upgraded in my attack workshop, and that is by design. The biggest issue with conventional Blender, where you're basically just maxing out everything, is you end up killing a lot of enemies too quickly, and that can really hurt your coin gains. So what I do with this strategy is leave everything, every single one of these things at level 0. There is one exception to that. I do put about 700 levels into my base damage. And the main goal with this is that effectively all of these stats will be maxed by the end of the run, just because I'm getting to that high amount of waves. And yeah, now that we've talked about the attack workshop, let's go ahead and jump into the defense upgrades. So because this is an EHP build primarily, you're going to want to focus quite a bit of levels into health and health regen. I have both of mine just at 4,900 because I maxed them fairly quickly during the run. Just get a good solid baseline so that you don't die prematurely. Things that are totally okay to go ahead and max out are things like defense percentage, thorn damage, assuming that you're using the wall, lifesteal, shockwave frequency, defense absolute, death defy, wall rebuild, and yeah, that's about it. In terms of the free upgrade card mastery, the two stats that I would recommend locking for this will be the workshop orbs, because for this strategy we're going to be using the extra orbs card. Instead of having 4 orbs, you simply have 3, so you're going to be killing less enemies outside of your ultimate weapon activations. So that's the first stat that I do. The second stat that I lock is actually the shockwave size. And because I am farming at max range, I leave the shockwave size at 1.5 times. I've found that that really does a good job of keeping the tank enemies just far enough away, but not too far that they're basically getting hit by the orbs until the black hole sucks them in. And last but not least, let's briefly touch on the utility upgrades. So pretty much you can feel free to max all of this. And once you get down to the enemy level skips, because again, this is an EHP based build, you can run it hybrid and put a few levels into like the enemy health skips. I currently am not doing that. I just go ahead and put 400 levels into the enemy attack level skips, and that has been really good for me. Currently, I'm able to max these out during the run by about wave 500. And yeah, last but not least, let's go ahead and briefly touch on the workshop enhancements, because like I mentioned, I'm running more of a hybrid style build. I have 50 levels into damage, crit factor, and super crit multiplier, and under health, I have 61 levels in health, 65 levels in health regen, nothing in defense absolute, landmine damage, or orb size, and then 65 levels yet again in wall health. Generally, if I have some excess coins that I can kind of work with and I don't have coin enhancements to do, I will basically just put a couple levels into like health regen, enhancements, health, then wall health. This is generally what I try to go to after I respec out of Glass Cannon after the tournament. And last but not least, let's touch on the utility enhancements. Pretty self-explanatory. Get a good solid baseline of cash so that you can try to get your enemy level skips maxed as soon as possible, followed by as many coins as you can possibly get, followed by quite a bit of cells as well. And then I like to just put 10 levels of free upgrades. I just find that it really gives me more reliable free upgrade chance and whatnot. And then kind of just put the rest that you have available into enemy level skip enhancements. But that's actually going to wrap it up for the workshop. Let's go ahead and talk about the ideal cards for this strategy. So under the cards, there's really several different categories of cards. There's obviously you need the free upgrade mastery, so that's the first one that we're going to put in here. I would say that realistically, you could do this strategy with 14 card slots at a bare minimum. I currently have 18, and if you only have 14 card slots, what I would suggest taking is cash, coins, crit coin, all of your econ stuff, so wave accelerator, wave skip, enemy balance, followed by your EHP cards, so health, health regen, extra defense, and then your free upgrade mastery, extra orbs, and if you have extra card slots after that, you can put things like your attack cards, so damage, attack speed, crit chance, recovery package chance, quality of life cards like intro sprint, better if you have the mastery, berserker, and ultimate crit. Some other cards that can be pretty helpful are things like slow aura, plasma cannon, landmine stun, different cards like that. If you have even more card slots, you could throw in like second wind, maybe demon mode, energy shield, different things like that would be helpful as well. Obviously, I'm limited because I only have 18 card slots, but this is more than enough to really get a solid baseline of what I need. But yeah, that's actually going to cover it for the cards. Let's go ahead and talk about the ideal modules for this strategy. So the ideal modules that I like to use, I'm just going to go category by category and talk you guys through it. First and foremost, under the cannons, you can really get by with using any of these other than death penalty. You don't want to use death penalty because you're just going to be killing enemies too quickly and likely will kill a lot of enemies outside of your black hole, so you're not going to be getting all of your coin multipliers. So for that reason, I generally will use Astral Deliverance. Again, if you have a Havoc Bringer that's really good, if you have a Being Annihilator, even a Shrink Ray, you can use any of those. Just try to steer away from Death Penalty. Save Death Penalty for tournaments and milestone pushes, different things like that. But this is what my Astral Deliverance currently looks like. I've got an Ancestral Crit Factor, Super Crit Multiplier, and Crit Chance. And I would like to eventually roll on an Ancestral Attack Speed, followed by probably a Super Crit Chance. And then this module will basically be set. So under the generators, you can really use any of these three. You can use Galaxy Compressor, you can use Black Hole Digester, or you can use Singularity Harness. The one thing with Black Hole Digester and Singularity Harness that I will say is ideally you'll get the most value out of them if you do have a synced golden bot. I currently do not, and for that reason I've been using Galaxy Compressor. So I do technically make more coins right now if I do use Black Hole Digester, but this does depend very heavily on the level of your coins per kill bonus lab. The higher it is, the more effective this module will be, versus Galaxy Compressor, where you pretty much get, for the most part, pretty immediate returns. And you may be wondering why I'm not using Black Hole Digester if I am getting more coins. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. With Galaxy Compressor, I found that I get longer runs because I basically have permanent Black Hole, permanent Golden Tower, permanent Chrono Field, and also I get way more cells, and that is just because of the reduced cooldowns of my ultimate weapons. So more Death Wave activations, which means more elite enemies are being tagged, which means I'm getting a crap load more cells. And for that reason, I've been using Galaxy Compressor. The ideal module effects for your generator will be enemy level skips, so attack and health, followed by package chance, and then coins per kill bonus, cash bonus. You can also do like a free utility upgrade. That would be a pretty good module effect if you have enough module effects. And yeah, that's going to cover it for the generators. Let's talk about the armor modules. So there's a few options that you can use here, but bar none, the best option is going to be Sharp Fortitude. Again, I mentioned that this build basically assumes that you are using the wall, and Sharp Fortitude has just been absolutely crazy for EHP builds. So the ideal module effects that you will want for this will be health regen, defense percentage, wall health, shockwave frequency, death defy, orb speed, different things like that. The only things that you don't really want are things like knockback chance, knockback force, landmine chance, landmine radius, different things like that. And last but not least, let's talk about the cores. I hate to break it to you, you can really use any of these, but there is only one that is absolutely amazing, and that is Multiverse Nexus. The ideal module effects for Multiverse Nexus will be things like Golden Tower cooldown, Golden Tower duration, Death Wave cooldown, Death Wave quantity, Spotlight angle, Black Hole cooldown, etc. Anything really that just drops down the overall average cooldown will be super helpful. Ideally, your Multiverse Nexus would be at least Mythic in order to get the most value from it, but if you have a Legendary, you can always try it and just see if it's effective or not. I probably would not use it if you only have an Epic. But that's going to cover it for the modules. Let's go ahead and talk about the ideal perks for this strategy. So in terms of perks, for your first perk choice, you're generally speaking always going to want Perk Wave Requirement. This one is just so valuable. It reduces a lot of the luck. You can only get 3 of these during a farming run, so getting 1 knocked out right at the start as your first perk is super beneficial. In terms of the banned perks, I currently have 4 available, and I would suggest a minimum of 3. Ideally, you could get a couple of the trade-off perks and a couple of the standard perks, just so that they're removed from the pull. I currently have interest and orbs, and the trade-offs that I have, because I'm running EHP, is the enemies have negative 55% health, but tower health regen and lifesteal is negative 90%. This one is an absolute run killer, and that's why I have it in here. And then last but not least, I just have the enemy speed trade-off perk. It is a little bit detrimental. It's not a complete run killer, but it definitely sucks, especially if you don't have a very good chrono field. And in terms of the auto pick ranking, I currently have 11 rankings unlocked, and this is currently what I have. I have perk wave requirement first for obvious reasons, followed by the coin health trade-off. I have experimented in the past with putting max game speed up there, but because max game speed is a standard perk, your likeliness to get that over the coin health trade-off is a lot higher. So anytime the coin health trade-off shows up, I want to grab it. After that, I have the golden tower bonus, the black hole duration, the 1+ extra wave for death wave, followed by the tower health regen, but tower max health trade-off, followed by coin bonuses, free upgrades, defense percentage, and damage. So this is what I've been using for about a couple months now, and this has been really nice for me. I have no complaints. But yeah, that's actually going to cover it for the perks. Let's go ahead and touch on the target priority that I like to use. So this is the target priority that I like to use. I have in spotlight, protectors, fast enemies, ranged enemies, basic enemies, bosses, tanks, and elites. So the reason I have in spotlight as my first is because I currently have a quant 4 spotlight with about 60 degrees of angle, and this allows me to get a lot of econ. Because I have 4 quant spotlight, I'll just show you guys whenever the first one goes off. You'll see that I have 2 of my spotlights always in the black holes. You can see right there. And because my angle is so big, I even get some overlap from the other spotlight beams. So you get a lot of value from using the in spotlight for your target priority if you have quant 4 spotlight with at least above 45 degree angle. If you can get it up to like the 60s, you're really going to see some good improvement there. The reason that I have tanks and elites all the way at the bottom is basically because tanks give the most coins out of all of these sort of basic enemies, and then elites also, I want them to be the last thing that my tower hits, because I want to buy the elite enemies as much time as possible to get tagged by my death waves so that I can get the cell bonus. I've been running this target priority for a little while, and it's been pretty dang helpful for me. It's definitely been pretty good. If you only have like 3 quantity spotlight and then maybe below 45 degree angle, I would suggest putting in spotlight underneath elites, because you're not really going to be getting a lot of value from it. You might have 1 spotlight that's always in a black hole versus 2 that are outside of your black holes, and you're just going to be missing out on some coins there. That actually basically covers the target priority that I like to use. And now let's go ahead and dive into the strategy. So during the early phases of the run, the strategy can basically be summed up into 3 phases. There's the early phase, the mid phase, and the end phase. So during the early phase, I start my run by turning off all of my damage producing ultimate weapons. The only stuff that I leave on is my econ producing. So Death Wave, Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Spotlight. I turn off Poison Swamp, Inner Landmines, Smart Missiles, Chain Lightning, and Chrono Field. I do this for a few different reasons, but first and foremost, if I have all of my damage turned on, I'm going to be making a lot less coins. And if I can hope that you guys get anything out of this video, it would just be turn off your damage ultimate weapons until you need them, because they will hurt you in terms of your farming. Unless you're running straight up glass cannon and you absolutely need them on, I would not suggest turning on damage stuff until you absolutely need it. So after I turn off all of my damage producing ultimate weapons, the next order of business is to try to spam the ever-loving crap out of enemy attack level skips. My goal is to max this as quickly as humanly possible so that I can prolong my run. And after I max out enemy attack level skips, I do the same exact thing for enemy health level skips. Generally speaking, I can max out enemy attack level skips by around wave 500. That's generally not a problem. And then my enemy health level skips kind of shortly after that. A quick little reminder, In terms of the other two trees, you don't really need to touch them at all until the very end of the run, especially the attack tree. You don't want to turn on anything here. You don't want to work on damage, attack speed, because guess what? It's getting upgraded passively by free upgrades, so we don't even need to touch it. And towards the middle of the run, which for me is generally around 4,500 to 5,500 waves, I will then turn on basically all of my damage producing ultimate weapons, with an exception of my highest damage ultimate weapon, Chain Lightning. So I'll turn on my smart missiles, my inner landmines, and my poison swamp. And a good way to sort of gauge when to turn on some of your damage stuff is basically if you click on the waves, you can see the wave info. You gotta kind of periodically check in on the spawn rate. It's that little number that's sort of turning. It's the active enemies that are there. Currently there's like 11. It's well below like 60. But once you see this little changing number get up above the hundreds, that's a good indication that you need to start turning on some of your damage. And at that point, like I mentioned, that's when I turn on my smart missiles, my inner landmines, and my poison swamp. And then I don't touch it again. It's the very end of the run. Whenever I get to around wave like 8,500 to 9,000, I'll come back and check. And again, similar thing, if I'm getting close to dying, that's an obvious indicator, but I'll check on my wave info. And if I'm well above the 100 mark in terms of the enemies, I will turn on my Chain Lightning and then my Chrono Field. And then the very last thing that I do just to prolong my run is go ahead and just max out orbs and max out shockwave size. But I don't do that until the very, very end of the run, like literally when I'm about to die. And it might buy me like an extra 100 or 200 waves. It's not even that big of a deal if I forget to do it, which is why I love this strategy so much. But that basically sums up the strategy. The biggest thing I can tell you is just do not touch the attack upgrades. The last thing that we really have to talk about is the tier farming considerations. So generally speaking, you want to try to find a tier that you can consistently farm well above the max spawn rate cap, as well as the double elite 100% spawn rate. So generally speaking, as of late, my farming method has been revolved completely around balance between coins and cells. So I'm trying to find tiers that I can optimize both of these resources because they're both so valuable. For me, currently that looks like tier 11. And if you find that you're dying around wave 6,500 or less in any given tier, I would suggest maybe dropping down a tier and testing that out. And likewise, if you're farming over 9,500 waves, I would suggest maybe trying the next tier up. And I've said it many times, but coins and cells are really of equal value in my opinion, which is why I wanted to really work on this strategy and try to find a way to optimize both of those resources. But anyway, guys, that's actually going to wrap up today's video, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, maybe consider dropping a comment below, letting me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about it. We also do have a Discord server, link in the description below. It's Spartan's Tower server. We have 1,600 people in there. It's growing by the week, and we're building a really cool community of people who love playing this game as much as I do, except Richard. Richard keeps leaving comments and saying that he hates this game. But anyway, love you, Richard. And speaking of Richard, shout out to all of my YouTube members. I really appreciate all of you guys, and you guys are awesome. There's Richard right there. But anyway, I appreciate all of you guys for choosing to voluntarily support my YouTube channel in the financial capacity. And again, the other way that you can support me financially without actually giving me money is by doing the web store thing. If you ever buy stuff for your account, if you ever buy the event boosts or literally anything and type my creator code in, you do have to type it in every 30 days because the code expires after 30 days. So basically once a month, just double check and see if the code is in there, and I'd appreciate it if you typed it in. The code again is 300. I get a small little kickback anytime you guys buy something at no extra cost to you. So anyway, that's going to conclude today's video, but thank you guys so much for watching, and like always, I will see you guys later.